Last week we saw Chris Hannon attempt the world speed record on one wheel. Who else would Paul and Wayne meet in their visit to the Isle of Man?
And with world record attempts over, it was time for some serious stunt riding. Well, there's a stunt rider that we've seen before on Two Wheels Better at the Northern Bike Run last year at Alton Park, Dave Coates. Dave, what are you doing? Are you qualified in electrics?
No, not really, no.
It looks a bit of a, if you don't mind me asking, it looks a bit bodgy, this gaffer tape.
It is a bit bodgy.
What's going to happen here?
Well, it's pyrotechnics, and it just gives off a loud explosion.
Oh,
so I'm just going to give it a try now. Well, I'll do it.
Not now. No.
Hopefully not now, anyway.
Right, well, out of the way of us. This is the same bike you had at Alton Park?
Yeah, it's the same one. It's been a good one.
You painted it since then?
Yeah, got a paint job for the Scottish bike show.
Oh, right, yeah.
For the stunt competition that we did there. But you wouldn't think it to look at it.
No, you've still got all the dents in the tank. You're not supposed to stand on the tank, you know. So have you got anything new that you're going to do? Any new stunts?
Yeah, do a few new ones with Sandra on, and she's laying along the bike and sat on the tank, and John gets on the front now, on them pegs on the front. Yeah, rather him than me.
You still do the one where she's facing backwards reading the magazine and you're scraping the number plate?
Yeah, we still do that one, yeah.
You still scrape the number plates and break the back lights?
Yeah, still getting it even further back now. So I don't know where it's going to stop that one.
Great weekend was had by all at Derby Airfield. Chris the Cannon Hannon won his final eliminator on the drag. Dave Coates and wife Sandra kept the crowds thrilled with their stunts. And oh yes, those purple helmet chappies, they were there too. But most of all, warmest congratulations to Yorkshireman Jared Frost, the new 172 mph World Speed Wheelie record holder.
Socket set. I've got two socket sets, one with bigger ones mainly for use on cars, but this is a smaller one, metric for modern bikes, but you can get them in the old Imperial British standard sizes. Standard range of sockets going right down. Little driver for the smaller ones, so you can spin things on.
like
standard
these
ratchet.
guys,
I thought you'd like those. They're like little toys, aren't they? But these are very useful because, again, being on the bikes, you can't always get the swing.
In your tight spaces,
yeah,
that's your
right.
grannies.
But these are really good, fit anywhere.
Okay.
So, useful kit.
What's down here? Aha! don't recognise the screwdrivers, Jeff.
Yeah, screwdrivers again, pretty well
Anything.
battered, but they're in good condition. You like these little ones, don't you?
I do.
The little baby ones.
I'm actually very good at DIY around the house, I have to say.
All
But
right.
I've been very lucky to have the hubby do the bike while I do the garden. So I think times are a-changing.
Well, anyway, so those are the crosshead ones. These are just a range of ordinary flat blade screwdrivers.
Okay.
A small crosshead one.
This
that one right.
looks decidedly surgical.
It's not.
Hey! Nostril width. Sorry, where's the for?
This is a vernier gauge. Very useful bit of kit. Not very expensive. It's marked up in imperial and metric again. And so you can measure the width. Not that you want a screwdriver blade, but you can measure the width of something like that. If you wanted to measure how far something was across, we'll say that square on the end of there. You then turn it the other way.
Oh, excellent.
And you get the reading off this centre section here.
Bit of kit.
And also, it's not finished yet, Diane. It's just a bit anarchy, but there's a little depth gauge at the end there. This
great.
one here. So if you're looking for sort of how deep is that hole that I want to find a bolt for, you can just wheel that along, measure it off, and it's very good.
Quickly, coming towards the
Yeah,
end,
this
what's
is just another small kit that I saw, but it was very useful. A ratchet driver here,
yeah.
a range of small bits, crosshead, Phillips,
I like
and
these guys.
Allen. I haven't touched Allen's. Have you heard of that phrase before?
Yes,
These
I have.
Allen ones, octagonal drive bits, which we'll see some more of later.
Right.
And this one, very useful, a flexible one. Again, to get into those bits and pieces that you can't always get to with conventional tools. But those are just some of the tools that we're going to be using to run through the bike. Nothing too sophisticated there. Something you can get from, any good tool store, Halfords, all these, even B&Q and all the rest
Go
of them.
out and buy.
Go out and buy your goodies, and
We'll
away you
catch up
go.
with you next week, because we're going to go a little bit more in depth.
We are. We'll actually start some real work then, stem to stern, from the front to the back. Hi and welcome to Two Wheels Better, this week from a parallel world, the world of parallel imports. And I've got with me here Kevin Neeson, a partner in DK Motorcycles at Stoke-on-Trent. Kevin, quite an emporium you've got here.
Yes, it is.
What was this? Was it an old factory?
It was an old mill that was used by Dalton's, the pottery people, for distribution.
Oh, right, and that's still next door, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Now, all these bikes that you've got, very impressive. They look identical to me to ordinary UK bikes that you can get from any dealer. What's the best way of sort of describing what a parallel import is?
Well, the parallel import is a bike that's bought in through unofficial channels as such, not through the franchise dealer network. Most bikes are exactly the same, with the small exceptions of the kilometre clocks, and the headlight has a different pattern.
So where are they coming from in the main? I mean, are they from Europe, or do you get them from all around the world?
From Europe, America, and some from Japan. But
yeah, and there seems to be everything here. I mean, I can see Suzuki's, Kawasaki's, Yamahas. You're not short of a model, are you?
no, there's no limit to any of the bikes that you can get.
Yeah. And what's the... I mean, there's a lot of talk about it, that they are much cheaper and all the rest of it. Is there a typical sort of price, a discount on them, or does it depend on demand or what?
It depends on the individual models. Some there's up to £2,000 difference between the official price. Others there might be only £500. It depends on the pricing structure that the manufacturers apply to the bike.
When it comes to really popular models like good old Fireblade and the Blackbird, anything new like that, do you have a problem getting hold of those?
No, at the moment supply is very good. We can buy in virtually unlimited quantities.
So what do you think the problem is in the UK market when they are in short supply? But why is that?
I think they just underestimated the demand for bikes. If bikes are priced correctly, then the bikes will sell in vast numbers.
And so where you're getting from, is that because the importer has over-ordered, in that particular country?
I think many of those have ordered specifically for export, and as such they make sure they order enough bikes.
Okay, so if you're coming to something like one of those, I mean, off the top of your head, a Fireblade, what could someone save on a Fireblade?
Approximately £2,000.
Yeah, and is that on the road? That's comparable?
Yes, that'd be on the road with a 2-year warranty all ready to go.
Yeah. Now, you're mentioning warranties. That's something I've heard about, the pros and cons of warranties. Mm-hmm. That's not the manufacturers or the importers. Can you just clear this up? I mean, Honda, for instance, they'd make the bike, but is it the importer who actually offers the warranty on it?
Yes, anybody's warranty with any bike or any product is with the person who sells the warranty first and foremost. And we offer a 2-year warranty with all the products we sell, which is similar to the Honda warranty, or we try to mimic what Honda would do for you anyway. What we can't guarantee is that every dealer would back you up. But basically, if anybody has a problem, then we'll fetch the bike, bring it back, and do exactly the same as anybody else would. So
that sounds very impressive. Does that apply across the board? I mean, here you are in Stoke-on-Trent. I can see that you go and fetch someone's bike if they were local. But what about if they bought one from you and they were living in, I don't know, Glasgow?
Well, we do occasionally, very rarely, because the product is so good that there's very, very rarely a problem anyway. But if somebody did have a problem, we'd be more than welcome to fetch it and bring it back to them. It would be no problem for how often that happens.
So, I mean, that's a major manufacturer, someone like Honda. What about the sort of smaller names? I mean, can you get hold of things like Ducatis?
We can do Ducatis, but the demand is small, so we don't really get involved to any extent with Ducatis.
And they're pretty specialised, aren't they, for servicing and that sort of thing?
Yes, we feel that they're probably better left to the people who do understand those models to a large extent.
What about when it comes to something else like Harleys? I can't see a Harley here.
No, we don't do Harleys. We've never really had a great deal of demand for it. The only other bike, the new interesting one we can get now, is the Triumphs.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, they're only made in Hinckley. Where on earth are you getting Triumphs from?
Again, they can be bought in Europe and brought back cheaper.
Can they? What's the sort of markdown on that then?
Well, we can do the new T595 at £8,500.
That sounds pretty impressive, that does. And what do Triumph say about it?
I wouldn't know. I shouldn't think they'd be too happy.
What would you say is your most popular bike?
It would probably be still the CBR 600 and CBR 900.
Yeah, so they're still top sellers. And is it of concern when people come to you? They're after the price discount, aren't they?
price is everything.
Yeah. And so this backup business, do they cross-examine you on the sort of warranties and all the rest?
Yeah, every customer is concerned, but most people are well aware that if they buy a CBR 600, they're never, or with virtually very few exceptions, ever going to need the warranty because it's such a good bike anyway.
If you did need spare parts, you mentioned about perhaps local dealers aren't too keen on you doing this and undercutting them. But spares, where do you get spares from? Do you have to go to a local dealer for those?
No, we just buy them through the normal UK dealer network, or if there is something where you have an obscure colour, then we just buy it from abroad. Obviously, all the people who sell us bikes are just as keen to sell us the spares anyway.
Yeah, and so it's no problem, but it's servicing. You mentioned earlier that servicing can be a problem because perhaps understandably the local dealer would say, what would he say? Well, he didn't buy it from me, why should I service it? Is that something typical that happens?
Some dealers do have a short-sighted attitude, but I mean, that is very short-sighted. If somebody wants to have the bike serviced, then the dealer can make money out of that service, and they should do the service. Yeah. We don't stipulate that anybody has to have their bike serviced at a Honda dealer if they buy a Honda product. They can have it serviced wherever they like. So most people will find somebody that will be more than happy to take the money off them.
But perhaps you can understand a dealer, though, saying that, can't you? Whether it's right or wrong in your opinion, you can understand him saying it.
Well, yes, but I mean, if he stops to think, if he makes a customer unwelcome, then he's losing that customer forever, as opposed to possibly cementing a relationship with that customer and him being a good customer of his in the future.
Yeah. Okay. On the specification, I know you mentioned, and I've seen stickers on some of the clocks. They're in kph, and so that's a sticker on there. But because the recording, the odometer, that will continue to record in kilometres, wouldn't it? So you get astronomical numbers on there. But people put up with that as long as the speedo's reading properly. They're okay. What about headlights, dipping headlights? Is there a problem there, or do you change those?
Yeah, most headlights will always be slightly different than a UK spec headlight. But again, we don't generally change headlights. We would adjust them to make sure that they'll pass an MOT and everything in 3 years' time. But they'll always be slightly different, never quite the same.
And you know the old argument, full power, people love that phrase, don't they? I want a full power edition or whatever. Are yours full power, or what's the story on that? Are some models restricted? In Switzerland they're restricted, aren't they? In France and Germany?
Yeah, those bikes, obviously, you'd avoid buying those bikes to start with, because obviously there's no point buying a Thunder Ace that's restricted. Everybody wants a Thunder Ace because it's a powerful bike. So all the bikes we buy are unrestricted, and you would never buy bikes that were destined for the Swiss market or whatever, because it's such a small market anyway. There's no problem with the restriction on bikes at all. Looking around this place, I mean, with all these bikes glistening, I can understand what the attraction is, and I suppose it's just up to the individual. If he feels comfortable at the end of the day with sort of foregoing the manufacturer's warranty, and he is counting the shekels, he comes to you and goes away a happy chappy? Well, yes, I mean, he can buy a new bike off us for the same price as he'd buy a second-hand one out of the paper for. And at the end of the day, he's got 2 years warranty, and it's brand new. He's the first owner. Okay, then, Kevin. Well, thanks very much. Thank you.
You may remember that fairly recently I was riding a Laverda 668. I never quite got the hang of that Italian job, but now they've given me this. It's come back to haunt me, Laverda. This is their Ghost. Not dissimilar to the 668, totally different in appearance, but mechanically exactly the same. Same motor, uses the same 668cc parallel twin engine, double overhead cam, and it's air oil cooled. In fact, there are a pair of oil coolers clearly visible at the front. And behind them you'll notice this frame, totally different to the 668. On that one we had a beam type frame. This is a kind of tubular trellis type frame. Not dissimilar to Ducati's Monster and in fact some of the Buells that we see on the roads these days. Suspension at the front, similar in the fact that we've got upside down forks, but this time carrying the Italian theme right through. They're made by Paoli rather than the white power that we see on some of the other Laverdas. At the back there's also a single monoshock. Braking, again, is provided by Brembo calipers. Very, very, very efficient, really well up to the job. So, what will you have to pay for your Ghost? Well, the Laverda 668 was a touch under 8 grand. If you fancy a bit of Italian exotica in your garage, you can have one of these and you'll get a pound change from 7 grand. Okay, so it's not quite Switzerland. I couldn't get that far, although I have done many, many miles on the Ghost. It's great on the twisty lanes, it's quite manoeuvrable, quite nipping, good sharp handling. And it's extremely good round town because the riding position is very high and the visibility in traffic really is excellent. So there's the Ghost. I mean, seems to be a trait of Laverda's that the gearboxes are a little bit notchy. But once you get used to that and you're very firm and very positive with your gear changing, really, there's nothing at all to worry about. So there is the Ghost. You know, I seem to remember many years ago, Laverda had a bike called a Mirage. Maybe the next model is going to be called a Premonition. I bet you saw that one coming, didn't you?
Won't be denied the power of your kiss. It burns me every time I think of what I miss when you're